night and you're watching Nightline with me, Anita. The headlines. National Recovery Plan. Klang Valley, Malacca moved to Phase 3 on Friday. MACC to probe failed uCUSTOMS fiasco. And Sarawak to resume tourism activities from October 1st. We begin with this headlining story. Effective October 1st, the Klang Valley, comprising Selangor, Kuala Lumpur and Putrajaya, as well as Malacca, will be transitioning from Phase 2 to Phase 3 under the National Recovery Plan NRP. Whereas Kedah will be moving to Phase 2 on the same date, which also will see all states nationwide moving out of Phase 1. In a statement, Prime Minister Datuk Seri Ismail Sabri Yaakob said the COVID-19 Pandemic Management Special Committee meeting held on Wednesday has agreed about the phase movement after taking into consideration the current risk assessment by the Health Ministry and the National Security Council. With the announcement, Kedah, Pulau Pinang, Perak, Kelantan, Johor and Sabah are now in Phase 2, whereas Kuala Lumpur, Putrajaya, Selangor, Malacca, Perlis, Pahang, Terengganu and Sarawak, Phase 3, and Negeri Sembilan as well as Labuan, Phase 4. The Premier also congratulated the Malaysian family, especially the state governments, for their efforts in managing the pandemic situation in their respective states to fulfill the stipulated threshold values. Datuk Seri Ismail, who is also the COVID-19 Pandemic Management Special Committee Chairman, said the new easing of restrictions had also been put in place for states under Phases 2 and 3. Official government and private functions, including workshops, are now allowed with the requirement that all guests must be fully vaccinated and that it operates under a 50% capacity. Those unvaccinated must undergo a pre-event testing with a self-test kit witnessed by the organiser or with confirmation by a medical officer before being allowed to attend. Fully vaccinated audiences over the age of 18 are also allowed to attend sports and recreational matches in states under Phases 2, 3 and 4. However, spectators or supporters are required to wear face masks throughout the event, and consumption of food and beverages are not allowed at stadiums. Meanwhile, vocational colleges, as well as technical and vocational education and training, TVET, in all phases would be allowed to open on October 15th, in line with the reopening of higher learning institutions. On the issue of people breaking home quarantine orders, the Prime Minister assured that strict action would be taken on those found guilty. Domestic tourism activities and attractions in Sarawak can resume operations under strict standard operating procedures, SOPs, beginning Friday. In line with the reopening of the state's tourism sector, individuals who wish to travel to Sarawak are required to obtain a police permit and submit their travel application via the Enter Sarawak website prior to their departure date. State Tourism, Arts and Culture Minister Dato' Abdul Karim Rahman Hamzah said travellers have to provide information such as flight tickets, accommodation or hotels, tour packages and other necessary documents as proof to obtain a police permit. Apart from that, they need to submit their travel application via Enter Sarawak, complete the e-health declaration form and their polymerase chain reaction or RT-PCR swab test results 3 days before arriving in the state. All tourists also must be fully vaccinated, while children below 17 years old who are not vaccinated must be with their parents or guardians at all times. The visitors were also required to have the digital vaccination certificate in their MySejahtera app or original vaccination cards issued by the Health Ministry. Meanwhile, Dato' Abdul Karim also called on the authorities not to unnecessarily withhold the issuance of permits to tourists from Peninsular Malaysia and Sabah to enter Sarawak. He said even though police permits and approval from the Sarawak Disaster Management Committee (SMDC) was necessary to control entry and to avoid the spread of COVID-19, full cooperation should be given to approve those coming in for tourism purposes. Among the tourism activities allowed in the state includes accommodation in hotels and homestays, tourism attractions, arts, culture and heritage premises, special interest tourism, spas, reflexology, massage centres and pedicure-manicure services. The Malaysian Anti-Corruption Commission MACC Deputy Commissioner Datuk Seri Ahmad Kushairi Yahya will head a task force to probe the failure of the Customs Department's uCUSTOMS project. MACC Chief Commissioner Datuk Seri Azam Bakir said the team will immediately work on the case where 273 million ringgit was paid for a computerized system meant to increase the department's efficiency and save costs, but the project failed to be delivered after 7 years and 5 extensions. Datuk Seri Azam also said the team will work on the case immediately and will be meeting officials from the Auditor General's office as well as the Public Accounts Committee, PAC, to get hold of the related documents. He added that the graftbuster would then decide on who to call after going through the Auditor General's report. Datuk Seri Azam said the move to immediately probe the case was proof of their commitment to the matters raised by the PAC and the Auditor General. PAC Chairman Wong Kar-Wah had earlier called on the anti-graft agency to aggressively investigate the project and view issues that the report deemed as punishable seriously. The committee is set to convene as well as discuss the findings of the report next month and would also subsequently call the Finance Ministry and the Customs Department for questioning on the project. The Attorney General's Chambers, AGC, has received the investigation paper on Tuesday on the alleged missing cash of $6.94 million linked to 3 officers of the Malaysian Anti-Corruption Commission, MACC. In a brief statement, the AGC said its prosecution division will carry out an in-depth study on the investigation paper before making any decision on whether or not to prosecute or order for further investigation. Last week, the police said that they will call 3 MACC senior officers who were previously remanded for 6 days to facilitate the investigation into the missing cash. They would also call the owner of the money, former Director General of Malaysian External Intelligence Organisation, Datuk Hassanah Abdul Hamid, to assist in the probe. Also in the August hall, Pengarang Member of Parliament Datuk Seri Azalina Othman Said has urged the government to immediately set up a special court for sexual crimes against children in every state in the country to ensure the privacy of underage victims is well protected during trial.
Tuan Ketua anak-anak pergi ke jenayah seksual. Bila dia pergi mahkamah jenayah biasa, Tuan Ketua juga seorang peguam macam saya, peguam jenayah. Masuk kes, keluar kes mahkamah, dah bersuar panjang, siapa nak jadi saksi, Tuan Ketua? Malu. Itu sebab kita nak mahkamah khas, bilik saksi khas, adanya pendekatan khas. Ni anak-anak yang menjadi mangsa.
She added the government had agreed for such specialised courts to be formed when she was the de facto law minister, but nothing had been done since. Resetting the economy, restoring the well-being and the prosperity of the rakyat, ensuring that no one is left behind, enhancing the nation's competitiveness, the enablers and game changers to achieve a high-income nation goal. The start of a new phase in Malaysia's development journey. Minister in the Prime Minister's Department for Economy, Datuk Seri Mustafa Mohamad, speaks with Money Matters this Saturday at 5 p.m. only on TV3. Back to the bulletin. Sharia officers have been urged to embrace the Malaysian family spirit introduced by the government, which aims to ensure fair and equitable implementation of Islamic law, as well as placing a high standard in ensuring justice in Islam. Prime Minister Datuk Seri Ismail Sabri Yaakob said, although the Sharia courts in each state of Malaysia have their own exclusive jurisdiction, this was no obstacle for the institution to move in tandem with the Malaysian family concept.
Warga Malaysia yang diperkenalkan oleh pentadbiran saya meletakkan kepentingan masyarakat dan rakyat di tempat yang utama. Keluarga Malaysia akan saling bertolak ansur, menggalakkan persefahaman, bekerjasama untuk kebaikan, mengelakkan konflik yang merosakkan dan memfokus kepada persamaan matlamat.
Speaking in his opening speech at the virtual International Sharia Judiciary Conference 2021 on Wednesday, Datuk Seri Ismail also expressed hope that the Sharia judges and officers in this country would have a high level of integrity, apart from making wise decisions and effectively executing their responsibilities. He stressed that they also need to close ranks and be on the same wavelength with the current leaders to uplift the Sharia judicial system in the country.
Wide network and cooperation to settle the issue.
Pulau Pinang Bridge crash, former hairstylist ordered to enter defence. This and more from the local front when we return. Stay tuned. Nightline. The National Registration Department, NRD, has confirmed that there was no data leakage from its personal database. Home Minister Datuk Seri Hamzah Zainuddin on Wednesday said this was because the firewall of the data security control system is secure and all information is protected.
Kementerian Dalam Negeri, saya lihat sentiasa memastikan keselamatan dan integriti data rakyat Malaysia yang berada di bawah jagaan Jabatan Pendaftaran Negara adalah terjamin. Jadi jangan bimbang tentang data-data yang dipegang oleh JPN. KDN juga akan memastikan semua agensi selepas ini yang menggunakan data My Identity ini daripada JPN segera mengambil langkah yang lebih ketat.
Datuk Seri Hamzah also said the NRD only shares the My Identity service with several government agencies for the purpose of reviewing and confirming the identity of Malaysians as well as permanent residents dealing with their respective agencies. He added that the NRD has taken quick, high-security action and has always complied with the policy of the My Identity system usage to prevent data breach by irresponsible parties. Earlier, a post in an online forum highlighted an allegation that personal data of 4 million Malaysians had been leaked via application programming interfaces from the My Identity system and were offered for sale at 0.2 Bitcoin, which is equivalent to about 35,000 ringgit. In another development, the Home Ministry has extended the services of Inspector General of Police Datuk Seri Aqil Sani Abdullah Sani for another 2 years. His letter of service extension was handed over by Datuk Seri Hamzah at a simple ceremony at the Federal Police Headquarters in Bukit Aman on Wednesday.
Saya yakin dengan pelantikan ini ia dapat memberi semangat kepada semua pegawai-pegawai dan anggota untuk terus bekerjasama dengan IGP yang kita semua sedia maklum akan juga melakukan sesuatu yang terbaik untuk negara, insya-Allah.
Datuk Seri Aqil Sani was appointed as the 13th IGP in May this year, replacing Tan Sri Abdul Hamid Badur, whose service contract had ended. The top cop, who is due for mandatory retirement on his 60th birthday on October 3rd, will continue to hold the position until his contract expires in 2023. The 1.1 million ringgit compound issued against Pontian Member of Parliament Datuk Seri Ahmad Mazlan was a punitive act under form of asset recovery under the country's anti-money laundering laws. MACC said this in a statement after the Kuala Lumpur High Court on Wednesday acquitted and discharged Datuk Seri Ahmad of his 2 charges for money laundering and giving false statements to the graft buster. According to the statement, Datuk Seri Ahmad had previously been offered the compound deal in October 2019, but he chose to go to court at that time, and subsequently, the UMNO Secretary-General was charged with committing the two offences on January 20th last year. However, during the trial period, he submitted representations and agreed to return to pay the compound. It was reported that Judge Datuk Ahmad Shahrir Mohamad Saleh made the decision to acquit and discharge Datuk Seri Ahmad after the prosecution told the court that they had withdrawn the charges against the former Deputy Finance Minister. On the first charge, Datuk Seri Ahmad was alleged to have violated the Income Tax Act by not declaring the 2 million ringgit, believed to be proceeds from unlawful activities that he received from former Prime Minister Datuk Seri Najib Tun Razak via cheque on November 27, 2013. The other charge was for giving false statements to the MACC when questioned over the issue on July 4, 2019. In Perak, a 22-year-old babysitter was charged in the Ipoh Sessions Court with attempting to murder a 7-month-old baby boy under her care because the child would not stop crying last Wednesday. Nur Saida Amran, however, pleaded not guilty to the charge framed under the Penal Code, as well as an alternative charge under the Child Act with exposing the child to physical or emotional injury at the same place and time. Judge Nurita Muhammad Ardani allowed bail of 5,000 ringgit with one surety and fixed November 30th for mention. Over in Pulau Pinang, a former hairstylist was ordered by the Bukit Mertajam Magistrates Court to enter his defence for causing the death of a college student by reckless driving more than 2 years ago. Sessions Court Judge Azal Fariz Ahmad Khairuddin, who presided as magistrate, made the decision after the court found that the prosecution had succeeded in establishing a prima facie case against 23-year-old M. Vaitaswaran. Vaitaswaran was charged with causing the death of Moi Yun Peng, then 20, who was also his friend, after their vehicles collided on the Pulau Pinang Bridge, causing the victim's SUV to plunge into the sea on January 20th, 2019. The court fixed October 28th and 29th for Vaitaswaran to enter his defence. Still to come, after this, Japan gets new PM. Stay with us for the details. Don't go away. Back with news on the foreign front. The newly elected leader of Japan's Liberal Democratic Party, Fumio Kishida, on Wednesday maintained his determination to reform the ruling party as he prepares to become the next prime minister. Speaking shortly after his victory was confirmed, Kishida pledged to change the party's high-handed reputation, worsened by outgoing Prime Minister Yoshihide Suga, who angered the public over his handling of the coronavirus pandemic and insistence on holding the Olympics in Tokyo this summer.
そうした自民党改革に対する思い、これは1ミリたりとも後退しておりません。 しっかり自民党改革を行っていきたいと思っております。この国民の皆さんの声を丁寧にしっかり聞く、丁寧で寛容な政治を進めていく、こうした主張に対しまして、多くの皆さんのご支持をいただいてきたと思っています。
Kishida, 64, has long targeted the prime ministerial role, losing out to Suga in last year's poll. The new prime minister faces a range of tough issues, including post-pandemic economic recovery and confronting threats from North Korea. Suga decided to step down as prime minister after a year in office due to plummeting poll ratings caused by the handling of the pandemic. The daughter of Philippine leader Rodrigo Duterte remains the most popular prospect for next year's presidential election, while her father slipped into second among contenders for the vice presidency. An opinion poll on Wednesday showed Sara Duterte Carpio, who this month said she would not seek higher office, has topped all surveys on prospective candidates ahead of registration, which opens on Friday. Her father cannot run for a second term and will seek the vice presidency. However, other potential candidates cut into Duterte Carpio's lead in the Pulse Asia survey of 2,400 people held earlier this month, with her support dropping from 28% to 20%. Boxer Manny Pacquiao, who announced his retirement from the sport on Wednesday to run for the presidency, rose one notch to fourth, with 12% support, up from 8% previously. Ahead of Pacquiao with 15% was the son and namesake of late dictator Ferdinand Marcos, who has yet to confirm his plans, plus Manila Mayor Francisco Domagoso with 13%. At least 24 inmates were killed and dozens more injured on Tuesday in Ecuador's largest city, the third in a series of deadly prison riots this year, prompted by feuds between rival drug gangs. Authorities said the violence erupted at about 9:30 a.m. local time Tuesday as competing gangs exchanged gunfire and explosives in their battle for control of one of the units in the main prison in Guayaquil. At least 5 of the inmates killed were decapitated and about 48 others were injured. Police entered the prison about an hour later and evacuated personnel, including 6 cooks, before regaining control of the facility by 2 p.m. Tuesday's riot came 2 months after a similar wave of violence broke out in 2 of the country's prisons, including Guayaquil's literal penitentiary, killing 22 inmates. Coming up after this break, action from the Malaysia Cup. Do stay tuned. Sports news now. Football. The 2021 Malaysia Cup. 4 group stage matches were played on Wednesday night. In Group A, Sarawak United FC beat Sri Pahang FC 1-0, while Penang FC drew 1-1 with Kuala Lumpur City FC. On the other hand, in Group B, Kuching City FC were held to a 2-2 draw with Perak FC, while Terengganu FC edged Selangor FC 2-1. Inshallah, a goal from Tommy Mamat in the 61st minute was enough to give Sarawak United a 1-0 win over Sri Pahang. Mamat became the hero for the hosts as he squeezed in a first-timed shot into the bottom corner, following a great build-up play. Sri Pahang then pushed on for the equaliser in the remaining period, but Sarawak, however, held on till the full-time whistle for the maximum 3 points. Following the win, Sarawak moves to top of the Group A with 6 points after 2 matches. On to badminton, the Sudirman Cup. Malaysia eased past Egypt 5-0 on Tuesday for their second straight Group D win at the mixed team Sudirman Cup, setting up a quarter-final clash with Japan for the group title in their final preliminary match on Thursday. World number 49 mixed doubles pair Chen Tang-jie, Pek Yen-wei got the ball rolling by disposing of Ahmed Salah Noor Ahmed Yusri 21-6, 21-7 in just 20 minutes. Men's singles shuttler Ng Tze-yong then trounced Mohammad Mustafa Kamil 21-8, 21-2 in 24 minutes to make it 2-love. Malaysia confirmed their place in the last 8 when world number 134 Yoon Chi-swan outclassed world number 113 Doha Hani 21-5, 21-7 in the women's singles tie. Egypt, who only brought 4 players to the mixed team tournament, had no choice but to pair up Mohammad Mustafa with Ahmad Salah for the men's doubles tie against Man Wei Chong, Thi Kai Wun, which Malaysians won 21-7, 21-6. In the last match, women's doubles pair Teo Mei Sing Yap Ling crushed Noor Doha 21-4, 21-9 to give Malaysia a 5-love win. Over in Brazil, top muralists have been deployed around Sao Paulo to participate in a week-long festival with giant paintings of their best work, turning what was once sanctioned graffiti into artwork. Let's take a look as we wrap up Nightline this time around for a little bit of inspiration. I'm Anita. Thank you for tuning in and be well, Malaysia.